The oceans of Proteus are filled with beautiful creatures. Some glow, some fly, some somehow convert seawater into drinking water. And then, there are the creatures that force scientists to stop taking notes and start asking deeply uncomfortable questions. These are not necessarily the largest predators, nor the most dangerous. They are simply the organisms that become more disturbing the longer you think about them. Today we examined 3 creatures whose existence raises questions nobody wanted answered: the Cerathecan, the Epicurean, and the tongue thief. Researchers have described them as fascinating. Researchers are often wrong. At first glance, the Cerathecan appears relatively harmless, a strange shelled scavenger wandering the seafloor, part oyster, part shrimp, part mystery, which would already be concerning, because evolution normally prefers to choose a lane. The Cerathecan did not. The creature lives inside a large, double-valved shell which it pilots like a biological vehicle. A cluster of tentacles collects food from the seabed, while a powerful internal thruster propels the shell forward. Scientists initially assumed the shell evolved naturally. Then they looked at its genome and discovered something unfortunate. There are no genes for the shell. None. Genetically, the Cerathecan is simply a very large shrimp. The shell exists. The shell grows, the shell functions. Yet the creature possesses no known genetic instructions explaining how it should exist. Researchers investigating the shell found something even stranger. The shell tissue contains fragments of a separate genome, not a complete organism, not a parasite, not a symbiotic partner, just partial genetic information embedded within the shell itself, which means the Cerathecan may be carrying part of another life form, a life form that apparently forgot to include the rest of itself. Even feeding is unsettling. The shell's interior is lined with a paralytic neurotoxin. Any prey dragged inside is instantly immobilized. The Cerathecan itself is affected by the toxin as well. Its own shell muscles are permanently paralyzed. To open its shell, it must first produce an antidote. Imagine owning a front door that poisons everyone, including you. Assessment. Researchers classify the Cerathecan as a scavenger. The evidence suggests it may instead be a biological crime scene. The Epicurean is one of Proteus's most important species, which is unfortunate because it is also one of its most alarming. The creature spends nearly every waking moment eating animals, corals, microorganisms, minerals, anything remotely edible, and occasionally things that are not. This endless appetite helps distribute nutrients throughout the ecosystem. By consuming enormous quantities of material and redistributing it elsewhere, the Epicurean functions as a vital ecological engineer. Scientists describe it as a keystone species. Scientists also wisely avoid swimming near hungry ones. The Epicurean is closely related to the hammerhead, but where the hammerhead evolved armor and territorial aggression, the Epicurean evolved a jaw, a truly unreasonable jaw. Its armored shield has largely disappeared, allowing its mouth to expand into an enormous grinding machine capable of processing almost anything it encounters, which would already make it dangerous. Yet researchers noticed something strange. Some Epicureans become far more aggressive than others, far hungrier, far less predictable. Individuals have been observed attacking almost continuously, consuming food at rates that seem biologically impossible. The reason remained unclear, until scientists looked inside their mouths. Assessment. The answer was waiting there. If the Cerathecan is mysterious, and the Epicurean is alarming, the tongue thief is the explanation nobody wanted. The tongue thief is a small parasitic crustacean that disguises itself as prey. Its entire life strategy depends on being eaten. Once swallowed, the parasite releases a numbing agent that temporarily disables the host's jaw. It then anchors itself directly onto the tongue and begins rewriting the rules. The parasite's chemicals interfere with the neural signals responsible for satiety. In simple terms, the host can no longer feel full, ever. The victim develops an endless hunger. Every meal seems insufficient. Every feeding triggers the urge to feed again. For most creatures, this is devastating. For an Epicurean, it becomes catastrophic. A species already evolved to consume vast quantities of food suddenly loses the ability to stop eating altogether. The result is a roaming ecological disaster powered entirely by starvation that never ends. Researchers now believe many of the most aggressive Epicureans are not behaving naturally at all. They are being controlled by their passengers, which somehow makes the situation worse. As if stealing control of a host's appetite wasn't enough, the tongue thief also reproduces inside the mouth. Eggs and reproductive structures remain attached to the host, while juveniles eventually pass through the digestive system in search of their own victims. Scientists describe this as a reproductive strategy. Everyone else describes it as a sentence that should never have existed. Assessment: a parasite capable of transforming an ordinary animal into a living hunger machine. And yet another protean creature that becomes more disturbing the more you learn about it. The oceans of Proteus contain predators, they contain leviathans, they contain enough biological absurdities to keep xenobiologists employed for centuries. Yet the most unsettling creatures are rarely the largest. The Cerathecan suggests life may be assembling itself from missing pieces. The Epicurean demonstrates how a single parasite can transform a keystone species into a living disaster. And the tongue thief proves that evolution occasionally abandons dignity altogether. The deeper researchers explore Proteus, the more they discover a world that does not merely differ from Earth. It actively disagrees with it, and perhaps that is the most unsettling discovery of all. Because on Proteus, the creatures are not broken. They are working exactly as intended.